You are now watching On Point, a news and public affairs show from California State University, Northridge.
Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm your host, Larinto. Recently, we witnessed the solar eclipse. Today, we embark on a journey through space and time, exploring the wonder behind this celestial event. But first, let's dive into the realm of astrology and meet our expert guide, Gogo Akopyan, professional astrologer of Lilith on Top Astrology. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, thank you. We're happy that you're here as well. So to start things off, I want to learn a little bit more about you. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So my name is Gogo Akopyan, and I started my business Lilith on Top Astrology about 5 years ago. But I've been studying astrology for the past 11 years and being mentored in it, and I just started monetizing it for the past 3 years or so.
Wow, that's very interesting. So what does Lilith mean in Lilith on Top Astrology?
Yeah, so Lilith was Adam's, if you know, in biblical times, Lilith was Adam's first wife before Eve, and not many know about that, but she was basically the first wife, and she did not want to adhere to Adam's kind of controlling ways because she viewed him as his equal, validly so, and he wanted to kind of oppress her and dismantle her feminism, but she objected to it, and hence she got sent to hell. So that's the story, and she was demonized for being, trying to be his equal. So she's kind of the first image of femininity, feminism.
Oh,
but
wow.
also dark femininity.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That provides a little bit of insight into the name. So
Yes.
what kind of services does your business provide?
I do birth chart reading. So any sort of chart, and there's multiple charts in astrology. You can, your natal chart is the birth chart basically. So that's your imprint when you were first born. So I analyze the birth chart. There's also synastry, which is compatibility between two different charts. So it could be compatibility between you and a partner or you and a friend. So we would do two overlays of two different charts and see the inner aspects, planets are making to other planets, placements, and the house interlays, which I'll go over later. But that basically goes over compatibility and how two people can get along, their strengths, their weaknesses of the relationship, how they can maneuver through challenges of the relationship. There's also transit charts, which is like, I think the second most popular reading that clients book with me. And that is basically because the planets move all the time, and they directly impact your chart, your personal chart. So when that happens, that basically governs inner and outer events. It could kind of, if you're planning on a big day, like a wedding, and you would look into transits to see which is like the optimal date to plan that wedding, or if you're planning travel, moving, I would say book a transit chart reading. And if you just want to know the overall energies that you're working with at a specific time in your life, then you could book a transit reading.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's really interesting. I wanted to clarify, what is a birth chart exactly? So how would I know what my birth chart would be?
So the day that you were born and the time, it governs your birth chart, how it's set up. So it's a wheel, and it basically, all the planets are aligned at the time of your birth, including your rising sign. And that basically fine-tunes your personality, how even your upbringing, anything could be revealed through a birth chart. So how you were raised, your trauma, your shadow work that you need to work on. It's like basically your soul laying naked for me to read. So it's very vulnerable, and a lot of people don't realize a birth chart reading is on par with like a therapy session, because it really reveals a lot of things about someone, and and sometimes some people are not comfortable with embarking on that journey yet. So I always, I kind of warn clients that like this is going to be a very intense reading, and I don't sugarcoat things. I don't like do generalized readings. I go very deep with my readings, and a lot of clients leave my readings evolved, healed, and like rejuvenated,
Yeah, it seems really introspective, and you can learn a lot about your characteristics and your traits.
Absolutely.
In the coming segments, we're going to go into a little bit more depth about zodiac signs and the
Yes.
characteristics that some signs might have. But for the audience, I wanted to ask if you could define astrology. How would you define it?
It's basically the study of, it's mathematical, and a lot of people think it's pseudoscience, but I feel like it's really connected to astronomy in the sense that everything has a magnetic pull, and it's very mathematical, so it deals with patterns, planetary involvements, how they pull on an individual, and how it governs sort of landscaping your personality. And it's like a blueprint for how you're going to operate and behave. And upbringing has a lot to do with it, but it's foundationally, it's how you respond to things. It's how you, embark on life, and how you react, your reactionary drive, it like your personality, how you go after goals, your everything, like how you love, how you want to receive love. It's all imprinted in the birth chart, and astrology is like the study of how that impacts someone.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. That's super useful. So would you be able to point out the similarities or differences between astrology and astronomy? Because I think most people know them, but not all. I'm still a little unclear between.
I feel like for me, it's one and the same. I mean, I'm not I haven't studied astronomy in depth, but I feel like it's one and the same, although there's a mythic connotation with astrology where the planets are all connected to gods and goddesses, and that kind of really gives an indication of how that person would operate as well. For instance, Libra and Taurus is ruled by Venus, not just the planet, but the goddess herself. And so those placements typically are governed by Venusian traits, meaning they love the arts, they have they favor the arts, they're beautiful, they love beautiful things, and they are very connected to the goddess Venus. And that's one example. Mars is connected to Aries, so they're very Martian, hence the word, is the root word of it. And so they're very energetic, they have a lot of vitality and a lot of energy, and they can be, the negative trait could be like volatility.
That's very interesting. I look forward to talking more about the planets and how they correlate with signs. More fascinating insights into the cosmos awaits us as we continue our exploration of the solar eclipse. But before we delve deeper into it, let's turn our attention to another intriguing aspect of celestial phenomena. Stay with us.
People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Welcome back to On Point Stargazers. Now, get ready to dive into the world of zodiacs and horoscopes to expand your cosmic consciousness. Welcome back. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about the zodiac signs. Yeah. So could you tell me what a zodiac sign is and what are the 12 signs?
So each zodiac sign has to do with the constellation at the time of birth, and there are a total of 12, although some could argue 13 now, as you probably know, but I don't mess with that. So the 12 zodiac signs go in order from the spring equinox up to winter. So the first one would be Aries, Taurus, followed by Gemini, and so forth up to the 12th, which is the last one is Pisces. And the order basically goes from, so the first sign of the zodiac is the baby of the zodiac. So a lot of the time, Aries not only look young, but they also have a lot of vitality, energy, because they're bringing the first sign of the zodiac. They're the cardinal sign, the first cardinal sign. So they set the zodiac signs. And then Taurus or Gemini also is the youthful one too. So it just goes in order up to Pisces. So Pisces is supposed to be the most wise sign because they're the last one. So they've acquired all the wisdom of the previous signs. So you get the idea kind of like the progression of the signs and why they're numbered the way they are.
Oh, okay. So I was wondering, or could you touch up upon the 13th sign? I'm curious
I haven't even delved into the 13th sign because I've looked into somewhat of the debate, and I just stick to my general classic teachings of astrology, so I haven't really, I know it just begins with an O. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
So there's a debate about another sign.
The 13th sign,
Interesting.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what the sign is called either.
Yeah.
Speaking more of zodiac signs, So I was wondering if there's a reason why certain signs are associated with animals per se. So for instance, like Leo, I think is
The
lion, and I'm a Taurus, so I believe it's
the bull.
a bull.
And even cow, like the cow and so a lot of these signs, even with having the moon in Leo, for instance, they really look like the animal that they are, that they represent. And I know, like I said cow earlier, but cows are just so cute, and Taurus are very cute and symmetrical, just like, it's just the bull. But they're bullheaded, so there's that characteristic to them. And Aries is the ram, so a lot of the time their gait when they walk is like head first, like the ram animal, so they kind of charge as they walk. And they're ruled over the planet of Mars, so a lot of the time their face is tinted red or their hair is tinted red. So there's that planet kind of connection too with the sign. But which specifically do you want me to go over? Like which animals, like each one, or not all? Most of them are animals, but not all of them have the animal component.
We'll go with Pisces. So Pisces is a fish. It's associated with a fish?
Yes. So yes, so Pisces, just like their counterpart, the fish, they're very sensitive to their environment. They're sensitive emotionally. So they tend to get sick often, as a fish would, because as you know, fishes are very sensitive. If you change their water, if anything changes in the aquarium or their environment, they get sick easily. So with Pisces, they have to be really careful of their health, more so than other signs. Yeah.
That's very, very interesting.
And they rule the feet. So each zodiac also rules a body part. So Pisces rule the feet, so they pay attention a lot to the feet, foot health. They can have some foot health issues, or they can pay so much attention to the feet where they avoid that, where the cleanliness gets involved with the feet. They take a lot of just a lot of emphasis on the feet, even taking pictures of their feet. It's just so funny to me.
Interesting. I never knew that.
They're little fins.
I was wondering, I think earlier you had mentioned something about compatibility. So are there certain signs that get along better with each other or worse?
I don't really do sun sign compatibility because I do synastry, so I look at everything, not just the sun sign. I think sun sign compatibility is usually with people you work with. That would be really good for career. If you have a business partner, that's when you would look to sun sign compatibility. But I look at everything. I look at sun to moon, moon to Venus, Venus to Mars for sexual compatibility, even moon to Mars, which is a baby-making aspect. So I look at inner aspects between those planets too, not just the sun sign. And especially with the moon, because the moon rules your domestic sphere. And that's eventually, when you embark on a relationship, eventually the goal is to move in together, and you need to have good moon compatibility as well, not just the sun sign, because you're going to end up living with them. You want to see how you get along with them in the domestic sphere as well.
Okay. Can you touch upon what a sun sign is, a moon sign, and then the other one is rising, I believe?
Sign, yeah. The sun sign is your identity. It's your core. It's how you go after goals. And your rising sign is basically your personality. So, and your moon sign is, it's a luminary, just like the sun. So it is a deeper aspect to you, and it tends to come out in your closest relationship. So with your familial the people in your family, your immediate family, your close friends, that's when your moon sign comes out and shines. But the moon sign does paint your personality as well. So they all work together to make up you. It's like, it's not just, it doesn't lean towards one or the other. All three make up your personality. Your Venus does, your Mercury, how you communicate does. So I don't say big three, I say like big five, your inner planets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how would someone find out what their rising, so the sun sign is based off of your birthday?
Your birthday.
So how would you find out what your rising and your moon sign is?
You would need the time of birth to hopefully the exact degree if you can. Because so you have degrees as well. So if you're on like a 0 degree axis point, you would need the birth time to kind of see which sign you would be, even as your sun sign. So you need the time of birth. It could come in handy for anything really. But with the rising sign, you would need your birth time. for sure. Yeah.
Okay, that's very, very interesting. So I was wondering if the Chinese yearly zodiac signs, do those fall under astrology?
Yeah, it's considered astrology. It's Eastern astrology, but it's kind of like an over umbrella sort of thing. So it's by the year and it's by the element. I follow it to a certain degree, but it's not as detailed. It doesn't go deep. It's kind of generalized and yeah.
My next question is more personal. So if my moon sign is a Cancer, let's say, what would that say about my characteristics or traits?
So moon rules, it rules over Cancer. So already the moon feels at home in Cancer. Cancer placements in general, especially the moon, can feel very sensitive to everything. Sensitive because the moon has phases. So the moon constantly changes. So that's where the moodiness of Cancer comes in. It changes with the moods, the cycles of the moon. So it's very sensitive in that regard. So with the moon in Cancer, they could be very sensitive, they could be moody, but also very artistically inclined because of that connection with the moon. Very feminine. It's a feminine body, celestial body.
Wow, that's very interesting. So would you say, do zodiacs play a role in finding a partner in a relationship?
As far as compatibility?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's platonic compatibility, there's romantic. Like I said earlier, with the Venus-Mars conjunction, that would be a little bit more erotic, so more physically based. And then there's your sun to moon connection, which is not just platonic, but it's also like very romantic as well, and it's good synastry. So synastry is compatibility, essentially. And so are you referring to sun sign compatibility or what sort of?
Sun sign.
Okay, sun sign. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's very like, sun sign is very generic. So yes, you can get along with other sun sign compatibility, but I look deeper into what else plays a role in that as well.
Oh, okay, thank you for providing some information about that. Stay tuned for an extraordinary visual treat as one of our reporters brings you a first-hand glimpse of the cosmic ballet between the sun and the moon. Our esteemed guest will discuss the celestial wonders of a solar eclipse after this short break.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
This place that I call
I want to explain it to her.
Welcome back to On Point. From the scientific to the symbolic, our reporter, Spencer Ferreira, captured a personal view of this celestial spectacle.
Thank you. I'm here on the campus of Cal State Northridge, where there's currently a viewing party going on for the solar eclipse, and many students are excited about it for many different reasons. Many people are gathering outside to witness history. A total solar eclipse is making its way across the United States. However, here at Cal State Northridge, the sun is only 49% covered at its peak. But that doesn't make the event any less exciting for those who are able to experience it in person.
I'm in astronomy, so I've been kind of talking a lot about eclipses lately, and I think it's really cool that I don't know, we have the opportunity to see this, especially because they said that we won't see it for another 50 years, which is really cool. And I don't know, I like how many people are coming out and that everyone's kind of having a shared experience.
While some students are just excited to watch the event, for others it has a whole different meaning.
I am extremely astrology oriented, and so when I heard about the new moon in Aries eclipse, when I heard that it would be in the North Node, I was really, really excited. I had been diving much deeper into what it could mean for me and how it could affect me.
Let's go for today.
While astronomy and astrology are two different things, they can correlate with unique events like this. It creates conversations that are all in good fun. Now, while some students have their own beliefs about the eclipse and what it means, I'm just excited to be able to watch this historical event for myself. Spencer Ferreira for On Point, back to you in the studio.
So did you observe the solar eclipse?
No, I didn't. I had this fear of having to go blind if I did. But I did do some manifesting, and I know they frown, a lot of the astrology community, they frown upon manifesting during the eclipse because of such because eclipses, they're meant to be, it's meant to be like a purging event where you purge things that no longer serve you. But I don't see it. I see it as that you can do anything you want with the potent energy. It's a very strong, potent energy, and I use it to my advantage.
Okay, I saw the eclipse. I thought it was interesting, but I was a little worried about the people say you can't look at it. So I was sharing my glasses with other people. So when I didn't have my glasses on, I had the urge to just peek at it because.
Yeah, it's scary.
But I wanted to ask. We touched upon it a little bit, but what does the solar eclipse mean in the astrology realm?
So the solar eclipse, because it's taking place in the new moon, so it's about bringing things in, but because it's an eclipse, it's eclipsing things out of your life. So think of it that way. So if there's anything you kind of want to get rid of, whether it's friends that no longer kind of vibe with you, or if there's certain bad habits you want to get rid of, you would do that sort of thing during the eclipses as well, because it's very heavy, potent energy. But there's a lot of fear mongering involved in the community where they're stay away from them, don't practice anything during them, or don't manifest during it. But I disagree with that sort of thing. I think you could use the energy properly in a proper way where you could really do a lot with it for the best. Yeah.
Are there certain signs that are more affected by a solar eclipse compared to others?
Yeah, so this one was the solar eclipse. The lunar eclipse before that was in Libra, so a lot of the cardinal signs were affected. Libra, namely Aries, which is the opposing sign to Libra, and the other cardinals. And then for this one, April was also a cardinal sign. It's the opposing. It's always the opposition. So April would affect, so the April solar eclipse would affect Aries placements, and even Libras, because again, it's opposing Libra. It's the sister sign. So a lot of them just kind of purge things that, again, no longer serve them, whether it was relationships or standing in their power. A lot of Libra placements, who normally would be passive, felt this surge of empowerment, confidence to go after things they want.
Okay. Yeah. So when you say the moon is in, let's say the moon is in Aries, does that mean the moon is aligned with the constellation in some way, or what does that mean?
The moon, yeah, so I think, it is, it's in the sign of Aries, so it would be in the constellation of Aries, and it would happen in Aries, so Aries season, which we're in right now,
I wanted to go into a little bit of depth about planets. So I've heard in the astrology world, I've heard the term or the phrase, when a planet is in retrograde. What does it mean for a planet to be in retrograde?
So basically, it's a retrograde planet is it's an illusion where they say it's going backwards. So that planet, whatever planet and characteristics it's attributed to, tend to kind of go haywire. So because Mercury, and the most common one, the most popular one is Mercury going retrograde, because it happens more often than any other planets going retrograde. And so because Mercury rules over communication, electricity, electronics, electronics, communication of all kinds, travel. So when the planet goes retrograde, a lot of people experience delays in travel. Their flight might be postponed, or their communication, errors in communication, there's miscommunication, rampant miscommunication, and their internet connection could go bad. That's why they say backup files during Mercury retrograde. So that sort of thing can happen. And exes coming back could be a common thing too, although Venus retrograde is more known for that. But Mercury retrograde too, just people from past coming back.
Oh, I see. I'm going to be traveling in 2 weeks, so I'll keep that in mind.
Yes.
If there's a Mercury retrograde. But
and it's always good to, even if the flight is delayed, it's always divine intervention. So just think of it that way. Divine,
Thank you for providing some information on that. Stay tuned as we take a step into the depths of destiny. You won't want to miss the cosmic revelations coming up next.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
I'm an actor in an ad reminding you that if you're high, just don't drive.
Welcome back to On Point and to Earth. Joining us once again is our credible guest, Gogo. She will now shed light on the celestial forces shaping our destinies and lives. Let's dive into this conversation. So I was wondering, how do you incorporate astrology into your daily life?
So I have a calendar of transits. So every day when I wake up, I check the transits, so how they're going to affect my mood, govern my actions for the day. And sometimes I forget to check and something will happen that day and they'll be like, I wonder what planet's involved in this. And lo and behold, I'll check and Neptune, for instance, is involved. And Neptune tends to like bring in confusion and mixed messages and kind of like this misinterpretation in general. It's the planet of confusion. And so I'll check and I'll see like, oh, alas, like Neptune was involved in like why I misread certain things or like misjudged certain things. That's one example. But yeah, it'll just basically pinpoint the transits that are happening for that day. The moon, what moon the phase is in and what sign it's in, and that can give me an idea of how the day will go. If it's a moon in Gemini, usually I'll want to like socialize and go out because Gemini is a very sociable sign. So when the moon is in Gemini, you feel like you more extroverted, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to incorporate astrology more in their daily lives? Is there certain things that we can do in our daily activities?
It's best to read when you're reading transits to read for your rising sign rather than your sun sign or moon sign, because the rising sign will kind of pinpoint the houses where the planetary movements will affect a certain area of your life, which is considered the house of the zodiac. So you have 12 houses, and each one has a meaning and each one has characteristics of that certain house. So if you know your rising sign, you'll check for transits for your rising sign. And that's basically what I do in my day-to-day activities.
Okay, I see. In my perspective, I see that astrology is really prevalent on social media. Do you think that social media is a credible way to consume astrology, or what's your perspective on that?
So there's a lot of on TikTok and things like that, like a big percentage of it is pop astrology, and when I say pop astrology, I mean like they go by their sun sign kind of thing, and they generalize and they kind of put place stereotypical characteristics onto that sun sign. So I don't recommend that unless it's like for humor purposes, which is like entertainment. But for advanced astrology, I recommend, the astrologers that really delve deeper into the houses, the aspects, even asteroids, because you have a million asteroids that fine-tune your personality. You can tell like the difference between like the pop astrologers and the more advanced astrologers.
Okay, wow, that helps a lot. Thank you so much for sharing. And so our cosmic journey comes to an end. I want to thank Gogo Akopyan for joining us and sharing her expertise, insight, and passion for the cosmos. Thank you to our viewers who tuned in. I'm your host, Larinto, and you've been watching On Point.